Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I'm sorry for the miss, but I'm in the college. We are in the exams period, so I'm done with my invigilation lastly, and I'm all ready now.
All right, sounds good. Um, Let me make sure my mic is
Now everything is
using
good.
good. Make sure I'm using the right microphone here.
Is the sound not clear?
No, the sounds. I want to make sure I'm using the right microphone.
Okay, I can hear you well.
Okay, good. All right. I think I'm using the right mic. All right. Today, what we're going to cover is the four core competencies when we're talking about ESL. The
Mhm.
the first day on Saturday, we spoke about um, just the basics of teaching and learning, some basic ideas and concepts in teaching and learning. We talked a little bit about crashing. We talked a little bit about
Of course.
difference between a teacher and an educator, between students and learners. We talked about
Mhm.
Bloom's taxonomy. We talked about smart objectives. Today, I want to talk about the core competencies in ESL. This is essential when you come to ESL. Again, I'm trying to make this experience for you worthwhile, and I'm trying to make it efficient for you so you can understand it well and cover the main points. Um, One of the people that we didn't talk about on day one is Noam Chomsky. And Noam Chomsky, and this is important for the core conversation that we're going to have today. Noam Chomsky came up with something called, or is responsible for something called the universal grammar theory.
Mhm.
Universal grammar theory, and all you really need to know about this theory is um, Chomsky found out that basically any and everyone can learn a language and learn many languages because basically we have installed in our brains a language app. I like to call it a language app, right? So when you buy a phone, they're pre-installed apps, right? And some of those apps you cannot even delete, right?
Yes, yes,
Some
comes
of the apps
with
on your phone you
the.
can't comes with the phone, and these are essential to how the phone operates. Like you cannot delete the phone, the calling portion of a phone.
And
That's
the
an
camera
essential part.
apps, the studio apps,
Camera,
yes.
you can't delete them
Mhm.
because they are essential to the operation of the phone. And
Yes.
so one of the things that's essential to our operation as human beings is our ability to learn languages because
Mhm.
it's essential to how we survive amongst, we are a social group of people. We are a social animal, Homo sapien, thinking man. And what makes us social is our ability to communicate. Um, we we would like to think as humans we are the most effective communicators on a planet or in the animal kingdom, right? We would like to think that we communicate more effectively than any other animal on the planet,
Mhm.
and we probably do. We probably do. I don't know. Dolphins have a great communication system. Elephants have an amazing communication system. Many birds have a great communication system. In fact, birds can, we know that birds can speak, right? And speak intelligently, not just mimic and mock, but they can actually speak based on context. But I think it's pretty much safe to say that humans have the most complex communication system, and that's because of our ability to um, to learn languages. We have that ability, so
It's essentially
can
so.
say
Yes.
no one can say they can't learn a language. They might not want to know, they might not want to learn the language, but they can't say they can't learn a language. And then that goes back to what we talked about in day one with the four types of motivation: intrinsic, extrinsic, integrative, instrumental, right? So if they're not motivated by any one of those four forces or types of motivation, then the likelihood of them learning a language is going to be small. All right. Also, if the conditions in which someone learns a language is not appropriate, then they won't learn their language. Like, for instance, I have been in Saudi Arabia for 14 years now, and I can't speak Arabic. I can't speak Arabic.
I didn't blame you on that
Why?
because it's so hard to learn.
No, it's not that Arabic is hard to learn. It's just I haven't been in the situation, in the condition, in the environment to learn it. Right? Because number one, I don't have a lot of motivation to learn it because everywhere I go, everyone speaks
You can
English.
use your own language, yes.
Right. So I work in a place where everyone speaks English. Everywhere I go, mostly everyone speaks English. Even when I go places, and people don't speak English, they accommodate. They try to find ways to help me out, even though I don't speak Arabic, right?
At the least, you're gonna reach to the
Which,
point where you understand each
which
other.
is different, than other countries, because like if you go to France, for instance, like people will get mad at you if you don't speak French. Right?
Oh, like in
They
Turkey.
get mad. They're like, you don't speak French, and they'll get upset with you. And you don't
They
experience
think
that.
that you don't respect them for not speaking their language.
They think
Some people
they
think
think
that
that
way.
yeah.
Hilarious.
They think if you come to France, you should be speaking French, right? And who are you not to know French, right? So if I was in, let's say I was in France for 14 years, I probably would have to learn French because people would
Because the
not
environment.
tolerate, yeah, because of the environment, the culture. People wouldn't tolerate me not knowing French. So, and there's other reasons. So my motivation to learn Arabic is even though I would like to, I don't really have any real reason to. And to be honest, I'm not really
Nothing gonna
motivated.
drive you to learn it. Yes. No need
Right.
if you can't do it in English.
Also, um, also the conditions for me to learn Arabic are may actually increase my effective filter that we talked about last week instead of decreasing it, right? Because let's say if I try to say a word in Arabic, people say, no, it's not ha, it's ha. And to me, it's the same sound. But to you, it's two different sounds. To me, it's the same sound. And then people go, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, because they don't understand that from in my ear, those similar sounds, even though to you, they're very different, to me, they're the same sound. So for me, what happens is that increases my filter, because I know every time I go to say an Arabic word, now I'm kind of scared that I'm going to, even though I hear it a certain way, if I go to say it, I feel like people are not going to understand what I'm saying because I'm not saying the sounds correctly. Because when I say something, people go, what do you talk? Huh? And then they find, oh, you meant, and then I go, see, this is why I don't learn Arabic. So my effective filter gets bigger and bigger every time I try, right? And that's not because of anyone other than me and my inability to hear the different sounds, right? So now this is important to the four core domains that we're going to talk about today. The first one, when we're teaching a language, it doesn't matter if you're teaching English, Arabic, Spanish, French, Russian, doesn't matter. When you're teaching any language, you are always teaching you're always teaching listening. Okay, listening, because the person always has to listen. The person that you're teaching, or the people that you're teaching, always has to, they got to listen to you. So you're always teaching, listening is always what we call an integrative skill or integrative competency. So you're always teaching listening. And one of the things that you want to remember when you're teaching listening is that things must be repeated. Okay, you must repeat them. Always remember the rule of 5. You always want to say it 5 times, especially when your learners are A1. When they're A1, A2, you want to repeat it at least 5 times, right? So you want to be able to say it to them 5 times. The other rule when we talk about teaching and listening, and again, teaching and listening is not something that you do within itself. It's in everything you do is you're teaching listening. It's an integrative skill that you're continuously teaching. Okay. The other thing is to remember that context is everything. All right. Context is everything when you're teaching. And context is important for listening. Okay. It's important for all of them, but especially listening, because they need to understand the context in which you're speaking, so they can catch on to the clues, the context clues. All right. So context is everything. So the question now is, what is context? Well, context is the situation the learner understands. All right. The situation the learner can put themselves in. All right. So as a teacher, you want to continuously make sure that every time you teach it, especially in every level, whether the A1, A2, B1, B2, C, but especially the A's and even the B1s, you want to make sure that they understand well the context. They need to know what the situation is. What is the understandable situation? The context, again, is the situation the learner can see themselves in or have been in. So the best context is always context, or what I call human context, like being happy. All humans, regardless of what you speak, you know what it feels like to be happy. You know what it feels like to be sad. You know what it feels like to be angry and mad. You know what it feels like to be hungry, right? You know what it feels like to be scared, right? You know what it feels like to be thirsty, right? So these are contexts that, regardless of anywhere you go in the world, people know what it feels like to be thirsty. People know what it feels like to be hungry. They know what it feels like to be bored, right? They know what it feels like to be excited, right? So you want to always use human experience to help you teach language, because that's going to be the one thing that connects you with the learner, is human experience, right? So keep that in mind. So always remember to repeat everything 5 times, and you always set the context. And the context is the situation the learner understands, not the situation the teacher understands or could put themselves in. The situation the learner can put themselves in. And also keep in mind that the context need to be appropriate to age too, right? Younger kids are not going to understand certain contexts like an older person would understand a certain type of
Yes.
context. So you will always keep that in mind. Age is always a factor when you're talking about context. All right. Um, um, Also, when we're teaching listening, we want to make sure that um, we model.
Mm.
All right. We'll make sure that modeling is extremely important when it comes to listening. Now, again, when it comes to learning language, when it comes to teaching in general, even if you weren't teaching a language, you're teaching tourism, you want to model it. You want to show the students the model, right? It's extremely important to model it, right? Because when they're modeling it, they must be quiet, they must be watching you, and they have to listen. They have to see and they have to listen.
Listen
right?
to introduce.
So you want to model it. So I'm going to model. I'm going to model for you now.
Mhm.
Okay. So exercise. What do you do for exercise? What do you do for exercise? I run. What do you do for exercise? I run. What do you do for exercise? I run.
Mm.
What do you do for exercise? I run. All right. I think I did that 5 times. All right.
Mhm.
So that is what we call modeling. That's what we call modeling. All right. You always want to model. All right. And modeling allows the teacher to get the students to watch you, because once you start talking to yourself, they're going to say, what is this crazy man doing? You know, this man is crazy. But what they'll do is they'll start watching you. I do it all the time, whether it's little kids or adults. And you set the context, exercise, right? Exercise. I might show them a picture. I might show them a picture of exercise, somebody exercising. I might show them a video of someone exercising, right? And then on the board, I'm going to write the script. What do you do for exercise? I run. So they're going to see the video or look at the picture, and then they're going to see the script. And I'm only going to use the words that are in the script. What do you do for exercise? Next, B, I run. What do you do for exercise? I run. That's all I'm going to put on the board. So
And they
now
watch and listen at the same time while
they
I'm
can watch and listen and they
modeling
can
these
read.
things to the yes.
So they can connect. Now, the great thing about this is there's so many lessons going on at the same time. There's a listening lesson. There's also
And
a grammar
watching
lesson.
things. Yes.
There's a grammar lesson, because now they get to see, what do you do? Oh, there's 2 do's there. What do you do? Ooh, what?
They're
Man, that's
arranging
2.
the grammar, and the grammar they use, they will be
They
familiar
can
with as they say the
now
question.
exactly, because that goes back to what Chomsky's universal grammar theory. So now you are using that theory while you're modeling, and you don't have to say it. You don't have to say anything about it. You see, you don't have to say. You notice there's the 2 do's. You don't have to say it, because in their brain, it's automatically going to notice the pattern, because that's what Chomsky came up with. That if they
So
hear
that
it, they see it, they hear it, and they see it enough, then their brain will start to get the pattern.
will
And the
get
teacher
used
never.
to arrange, and that way they have to
There
use
you go.
and see and watch and
Yes.
improve themselves
Now,
their
does it
grammar. Yes, yes.
does it happen overnight? No. That's why they take a course, because it's going to happen. They're going to do it. They're going to see it over and over. That's why consistency is important when you're teaching. Consistency is important, right? If you When you do something, yes, we
We
have
have to
something
wait
called
for it from
iteration.
time to time.
There's something called iteration, where we do the same things, but we do it differently. We do the same. It's called iteration. We do the same things, but we do them differently. Okay, but the key is that we're doing the same things, but we're mixing it up, so it's not boring, and we get the student get to see the many ways that it can be done. So the many ways the same thing can be done. Make sense? The many ways the same things can be done. Okay.
Yes, this is really
So you always do it. So even if you're teaching tourism, that's a great way to teach you tourism, is to follow that same thing, the modeling, right? Now, when you model, do you always have to do this? No, you don't always have to do that.
we can show them the object, which we have many ways to reach at the object itself.
Right. So, but the key is you're going to always model, and you're going to repeat at least 5 times. That's the key. You don't have to always do the back forth thing, but whatever you do, you're going to model it, and you're going to model it 5 times. Okay. Now, after you model it 5 times, trying to get my what did I do with it? It's interesting. All right. I don't need it anyway.
It's okay. I get it, and I'm
No,
gonna record
I don't.
next time.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I was gonna show you something. It's interesting. It's interesting. Where would I thought it was right there. Anyway, so you're gonna model it, and you're gonna model 5 times. All right. And again, now once you do that to help them with listening, all right, remember, listening is always integrated in another activity. So in this case, now we want to integrate it in with speaking. So I go, what do you do? So I said, so I did this. What do you do for exercise? I run. What do you do for exercise? I run. What do you do for exercise? I run. What do you do for exercise? I run.
Okay. When we integrated the listening with the speaking, like the way when some learners,
Just follow.
yeah,
I want you to follow me for a second.
okay,
What do you do for exercise?
I run. What do you do for exercise?
I run. All right. And then I can go to your classmate. We don't have a classmate.
Mm-hmm.
And then your
And they
classmate, what do you do for exercise? I run.
they exchange their questions and answers at the same.
That's called the teacher paradigm. Okay. Teacher, 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 student,
Student to
student,
student.
student, teacher, student, student.
Students.
So teacher, 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 student,
Teacher, student,
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 teacher,
teacher,
student,
student, student.
student.
And then if you have time, you can get everyone up and do class. So teacher, 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 student, student, teacher, student, student, class. And class looks like something like class looks like this. The teacher would go A, B, A, B, A, B. All the A's right here, all the B's right here. A's, what do you do for exercise? B's, I run.
A
You
run,
clap your
then
hands.
exchange.
They do the exchange, and then you clap your hand again. You say, all right, B's, what do you do for exercise? A's, I run.
Run.
And then they do it. All right. And
Then
that's
A
the
say, what did you
complete
do? And B guy say, I run. Okay.
and then they swap. B say, what do you do for exercise? And then so the key with that is you give clear instructions. And I'm telling you, if you do that consistently, students will have fun. And it doesn't matter
And
the
in
age.
games vibes as well.
Right. Because now they're not passive participants in the class. They're active participants. You getting them a chance to talk. You get them a chance to stand on their feet. They get on their feet. And that's what makes ESL classes. ESL classes should be fun. Well, all classes can be fun. All classes. It don't matter what it is. Statistics class, chemistry. All these classes can be fun if the educator in you comes out. If the educator in you comes out, it doesn't matter what you teach. Every class can be fun. And I want to say this also. Don't think you have to teach. Now I'm curious the way I did that thing. Don't think you have to teach everything. Don't think that you have to teach everything. You don't have to teach everything. Okay? One of the biggest problems that teachers run into is they teach too much stuff. It's called
so they cannot focus on important things.
So when you look at the course book, remember we talked about that on the first day. When you look at what your boss wants them to learn and the standards, you have to decide what is the most important things they should know. What are the most important things? All right. And then all the little small unnecessary stuff, don't leave it. Only add it if it makes it interesting. If it's just dumb information or just too much details, then just leave it. Because what happens is there's something called inert knowledge, INERT, inert knowledge. And that's knowledge that learners can't do anything with. And too much time, teachers teach information that does not help learners solve problems. Remember, we talked about that the first day with the learner profile. Your job as a teacher, as an educator, even as a teacher or whatever you want to call yourself, is to help learners solve a problem that they have, right? So don't waste their time giving them information that they can never use.
Yes,
so if you're teaching
pillar things.
Right. Teach them the stuff that's going to help them solve problems. Not
the most used things they can use.
The most used things, right? Not the stuff that's going to make them sound smart. Oh, I can call this date off 1842, 1770. Oh, so what? It doesn't help me solve a problem, right? They need to know things that help them solve problems. If they want to learn the extra stuff, they can go out themselves. That's how they're going to become learners, right? But don't bog them down with information that they can't use to solve an immediate problem, especially when you're talking about 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, but even younger people. Don't bog anyone down with unnecessary information, what we call inert knowledge, okay? This is how the class will be fun, because you guys will be talking about things that everyone's interested in and everyone feels like this is information that I actually need, right? This is again why the learner profile is extremely important. Ask them why you are here. What do you want to learn from this course? Give them that Google form or a
And
survey or however you get, but ask them,
what
what do you
and
want to learn?
what's their purpose to attend
What's
this
their
class?
purpose? What do you think this class is going to cover? What do you want it to cover? What do you need? What do you need? Ask them, what do you need from this course? Right? Some people are going to be smart and say, oh, I need an A. I need an A. I need full marks.
I need it
Yeah,
to help me
okay.
to get a job in future after
I
I
need to help
graduate.
me but that's important. But that's important. That's important. I needed to help me to get a job. Great. Right? So if everyone's saying I need this to help me get a job, then give them information and teach in a way that's going to help them get a job. All right. And so now the next question would be, what type of job? What type of job do you want to work? What type of job are you looking for? Right. So again, so when you make your first learner profile survey or question or Google form, whatever you use, you might have to do another one because you might say, oh, I didn't ask them what type of job. So you give them another form. You asked them what type of jobs. I read you guys Google forms, and I noticed a lot of you said that you need this
They want to
course
show.
to help you to get a job. Well, what type of job? This is continuing updating the learner profile. It's essential. Most teachers and even educators, but I would say that's the difference between a teacher and an educator. Most teachers do not update the learner profile. Most of them don't even give a learner profile. They don't even profile their students. And then those who do it initially, they don't continuously learn a profile. Learner profile, learner profiling is a continuous act. Okay. When you go online and you are scrolling Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, X, whatever that you're scrolling, they are always getting information on you. The algorithm is always, oh, you like to watch, oh, you watch this video for 6 seconds, but you watch this one for 18 seconds, and you watch this one the whole way through, and you just swipe over this one really quickly. It's always getting information. It's always learner profiling. Every time you go online, Google has bots to see what are you looking at, what are you searching, what are you everything, right? Because it wants to give you information on your feed that's going to help you solve a problem and then help them sell ads because they're in the business of selling ads. So Google knows if I help Sad solve a problem because I know his problems, because I know how he watches and what he's interested in and what his concerns are, I'm going to start sending him ads to help him solve problems. And in turn, he's going to click on that ad and then I make money. Every time he clicks on that ad, I make money because then I can go to the people I sell the ads to and say, I got Sad to click 72 times yesterday because I know exactly what Sad interests are. I like the things he likes. I know the things he likes. I know the things he dislikes, right? I know the things he needs. I know the
And
things
the
he
interesting
wants.
in it.
I know everything, the things he's interested in. It's the same thing with Tesla, with any of these smart cars now, right? Elon Musk is not selling you information. Is not selling you a car. You buy a car, you're not
Subscription.
buying a car. What he's doing is he's actually buying you're actually selling, or when you buy his car, you're actually giving your information away.
Oh,
When you buy his car, you're actually giving him your information because he knows every time you start that car. He knows every time you press the gas pedal. He knows every time you
And
accelerate. He knows everything about you. He makes money not off the
the
car, but he
algorithm
makes money off the
try to
data.
read your interest. If you go to coffees every time, that's he knows that
Absolutely.
once you have available time, or if you go to the coffees, not in the malls, and okay.
Okay. So that's what Tesla, Elon Musk is really in the data business. He's in the information business. He's not in the car business. You know, back in the days when your father bought a car, right? Let's say he bought a Ford Crown Vic. Ford didn't know anything other than that he likes the Crown Vic, right? They don't know. They don't know how he drives. They don't know they don't know where he goes. They don't know anything. They just know, oh, Mr. Al-Sharani, this is his third Crown Vic. He bought 3 Crown Vics from us. This is all they know. But
They don't know where
Elon
do you
Musk,
travel or where you go,
where they
or
don't know
which
anything.
most interested in. Mm.
But Elon Musk knows where you travel. They know when you start the car. They know how many how many kilometers you drive. They know how fast you drive. They know how much you slam on the brakes. They know everything about you. Okay, there's a documentary that came out last month called Crash, The Crash. It's on
Mm.
Netflix. It's about a young girl, teenage girl, who got in a car accident with her boyfriend and their friend in the car, and her boyfriend and friend died, and she was alive.
Oh,
She actually
congratulations.
and they ran into a school building. Okay,
Mm.
when they did the investigation, they knew that she never pressed the brake. They could tell because the computer told them everything. The computer told them
Uh-huh.
how fast she was driving before she hit the car, before she hit the school. The computer told them that she never touched the brake at all. The computer told them that there was nothing wrong with the car, right? Because there was no codes that came up. And then the camera on the street saw her make the turn slowly and then
Mm.
accelerate, right?
Oh,
So between
it
the
was
camera, between the camera and the what they call the black box in the car, the computer in the car, they convicted her. She's in prison now for 20 years or whatever.
trying
Whereas,
to commit a killing crime.
right, because before, oh, it was just an accident. It was an accident. No, they know now. Before in your father's Crown Vic, they wouldn't know unless somebody saw her like accelerate. If no one saw it, she could say, "Oh, she could say anything. I don't know what happened." That's what she was trying to say. I blacked out.
And
I don't know what happened.
you know what about these things? Also, in some electric cars, there is 24 hours record, like dash cam inside the
Mm-hmm.
car and the outside the car. Even if the car is
Absolutely.
off, if
Right.
someone who put in the car or throw something or break the glasses, it will record for last 48 or 72 hours. So
Absolutely.
that's the
Absolutely.
addition.
That's the black box. And so, but what is that really? That's for us as teachers. We have to do the same thing. We always have to notice. This is what we call teacher noticing, and we always have to have that black box, that computer where we say,
Mhm.
okay, this happened today, this what happened, and unfortunately, soon they already have it. By the way, no one's invested in it yet, but you'll have a camera in your room, and your
Yes.
camera will be AI,
Hmm.
and the camera will take all the students' faces, you record everything for you, and build the learner profile for you. The camera will say, okay, Mansour was sleeping, Muhammad went to the bathroom 7 times, and it would download everything for you in a learner profile app, and you won't have to record it. Right now, you have to record it. But right now, but soon they have the technology now. The schools haven't purchased it, not using it to help build the learner profile. So we know, so we learn more and more about how the students learn. Okay, so but right now you have to do that manually. All right. So here's the key for teaching listening. You need to repeat it 5 times. You need to model it. You need to go down the paradigm: teacher, 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 student, student, teacher, student, student, class, right? You also need to make sure that the students understand the context. What is the context? The situation that the learners understand. You need to make sure that they understand that they know what the context is. Never teach outside the context. All right, regardless what you teach, they need to know the situation, and that situation needs to be something that they understand. So even if you're teaching tourism, all right, it needs to be a situation the student understands. Also, remember when you're teaching listening, listening is an integrative skill, meaning you don't compartmentalize listening.
You
You can
should visit with
only
another skill,
it needs
like
it needs to
speaking.
be it needs to be integrated with another skill, like
Mhm.
like speaking, like reading, or whatever the case would be. Okay.
Shadowing also goes as the same rule. If listening to some let's assume that I'm watching movie and listening to it, but I'm doing at the same time shadowing. So this is kind of integrating some things.
Mm-hmm.
That's work as
Absolutely.
well.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about teaching speaking. Um, when we talk about teaching speaking, what you really need to know is that you have to prepare the students to speak. Okay, they have to be prepared to speak. Again, you're going to teach in context. There's going to be a situation that the student needs to understand, and you need to make sure that they have the language to speak. So you need to make sure that they have the language to speak. Where are they going to get the language from? Well, they're going to get the language from some type of activity. All right. They're going to get the language from you modeling it. What do you do for exercise? I run. Right. So they get the language from the board where you actually have the script on the board. Or you may ask them to read something, or you may ask them to watch and listen to something, and they get the language. All right. So when we talk about speaking, they also need something called quicks. Let's see. Ray, did you take my writing board? There's something called quicks. Okay. So when you're speaking, this speaking is always going to be guided. Always remember, you want the learners to talk to you, but mainly talk to each other. Whenever you can
Mr.
get
Reynolds, sorry for interrupt, but I need just 10 seconds. I bring something to make the stand better. I
no
just
problem.
saw it. Just give me a
I
second.
tell you what, take a 2 minute break.
Okay.
Take a 2 minute break. Take a 2 minute break.
Okay, that's better.
Okay. All right.
What are you trying to do? Yo, the apostles are against me.
All right. When we're teaching reading, excuse me, when we're teaching speaking, we want to make sure that the listener is prepared to listen, to speak, right? We got to make sure that they're prepared to speak. Speaking is also a another integrative skill. You always want the students to speak, and every time you get the opportunity for the student to speak, you always want them to speak. Okay, you always want them to speak, and that should be integrated in a listening activity or
The
integrated
reading
get together
center.
with a listening activity. So let's go back to listening for a second. When they listen, when a student listens, they're going to listen. When you give them the prompt, when you give them something to listen to, I said that you play it 5 times, but you're not going to play it 5 times in a row. You're gonna play it based on questions. Okay, you're gonna play it based on questions that you have. So first, you're gonna tell them the context. You're gonna tell them we're about to listen to, and I said something wrong earlier, by the way. Let me correct myself.
Okay.
Speaking is not taught, uh, not an activity that you teach. It's integrated in other activities. You can teach a listening activity. I spoke incorrectly. You can speak a listening. You can teach a listening activity. Okay. Speaking is the integrated activity. So, in a listening act, going back to listening, when you play a prompt, you're still gonna play it 5 times. Okay. You're gonna tell the learner what they're about to listen to. All right, class, we're about to listen to a story about how. Give me a famous site in Saudi Arabia.
Uh, Joha and his donkey, I think, or something like this.
No. A famous site location.
Okay. Mm, you know, Al-Ula Mountains.
Alula Mountains. We're gonna tell you. Okay, we're gonna listen to a. We're gonna listen to a documentary about why Alula Mountains are famous. Okay, why the Lula Mountains are famous. All right. So you're gonna say that. So now they know what they're listening to. Okay. You're gonna play it 5 times. Before you play it, before you play anything, you're gonna tell them what they're gonna listen to, and then you're gonna give them quicks. Okay, let's put my whiteboard up. I guess you see my board, right?
Yes, it's not clear.
Okay. Oh, a second. I didn't have enough power. I had to do it like this before.
It's okay.
All right. So you're gonna give them, once you tell them, okay, we're gonna listen to a story about why Lula Mountains are famous. And then before you play anything, you're gonna give them quicks. All right. And what is quicks? Key words in context. What is context? And remember what context is? Context is the situation. What?
And
The students
motivation.
understand. The students understand. All right. So these are going to be words in the listening in the story that they're going to listen to that is going to help them with the understanding of the story. These are not going to be difficult words. Well, they could be difficult, but you're not pulling out the difficult words. You're pulling out the words that help them understand the story better. So tell me something about Alula Mountains.
Okay, Northern Mountains, there's some hotels are built within the mountains itself. So
Okay.
it's in the mountain styles like this.
How long have those hotels been there? A long time?
No, it's just new styles
Recent?
almost after 2020.
Okay, good. So there's hotels, right?
Yes.
And the hotels are what? Integrated, right? They
Mhm.
integrated in the mountain.
Yes.
All right, so tell me something else about the Alula Mountains.
They reflect the high temperature degrees, and it is not the but there is there is so many lakes, artificial lakes they build there.
So there's artificial lakes there. Artificial.
Yes, artificial lakes, not natural ones.
All right. Lakes. Well, let's separate artificial from lakes. It's a high altitude, right? High
What?
altitude. They're high up. Are they high? Are they very high?
No, it's small lakes.
No. The mountains. Are the mountains tall?
Yeah, middle size of the other mountains here in Saudi.
Can the clouds? Are they high enough to touch the clouds?
No, it's just
Okay.
like buildings,
Okay.
4 or 5 floors.
Why is there any history, any historic
Yes, of
history?
course.
What? Give me one story.
Okay, people of clan, people of Prophet Saleh, they were
Okay.
lived, I think they're not sure 100%, but I think 90%, yes, they were living in Al-Ula. So some of them were building by their abilities. Their abilities could they curving the stones and the mountains to make rooms inside and living inside these mountains.
So were they running from anything? Were they hiding?
No, they just not exactly. They just living
So
there.
so the followers of Prophet Salah,
Yes,
were they
prophets.
followers?
No, not all of them. Very simple number of them were believe him and follow him, but majority of them were in conflict with him and quarrel.
Oh,
It was
they
so
were fighting.
heated. Yes,
So
they
there
all
was
rejected whatever they say, whatever he
so
said.
there was a fight. There's a fight between these two.
Yeah, at the
prophets.
end, Allah had banished them and give them their punishment by
Did they,
not exactly
were they
the
banished to the
kind of.
mountains? Were they banished to
No,
Allah Mountain?
the punishment was like a high pitched scream in a high range, I think. So they cannot, you know, it was so heavy in their ears. So that's it. They suddenly dead.
And they left the mountains. They left the mountains.
Yes, like a
Okay.
shock
So
voice. So
because
they
they were
cannot stand it.
because they were fighting with one another.
No, because I'm not surely knowing what they. Oh, I think they
But they
killed
were in the
the
they were
camel.
in the mountain. They were in the
Yeah,
mountains, right? Okay.
actually, they
Uh,
were living their normal life,
okay. So they were
not
natives.
hiding or
So
participate that something will come to them and vanish them. But they killed the camels, that's related to Prophet Saleh. He owned the
okay.
camel and many things that they not obey the Allah by what Prophet Saleh had to
And they
gain
were
them to.
banished from the mountain. And they were banished from the
Yes.
mountains. Okay. All right. So let's just stop right there. So you would
Mhm.
have. So let's say we were telling the story of Alula Mountains, right?
Mhm.
And so let's say these were the quicks, the keywords in context. You got hotels, and you can say,
Mhm.
okay, guys, you're going to hear the word hotel. The reason why is because in the story, recently, hotels were built inside the mountains. All right. And when you build something inside, they were integrated. You're going to hear the word integrated into the mountains, meaning they tried not to disturb the mountains as much as possible. So they built the hotels inside, or they integrated the hotels in the mountains to make the hotel in the mountain one. So that's
Mhm.
integration. All right. And then artificial. In the mountains, there are several artificial lakes. And so
Artificial,
you're going to hear
yes.
the word of artificial. Artificial means not natural, not
Mm.
natural, not from
By
God,
human
man
made,
made, man
man-made.
made, right? And
Man.
then what was artificial? These lakes, right?
Mhm.
Lakes are artificial there. And what are lakes? Lakes are bodies of water that's surrounded by land, right? Lake is a body of water that's surrounded by land, right? And then you
Vanish
have
word,
banish, right?
because we have
And you're going to hear the
historical.
word,
Yes.
right? So the historical part of this is you might put the word historical. If the word now these words are inside the listening, and there's a
Mm.
historical reference to the mountains when we talk about the during the prophet Salih times,
Uh,
the people that were banished from the mountains. Banished
mhm.
means kicked out, kicked out. All
Mhm.
right. And so you're going to hear the story. So in this prompt, you're going to hear about
So
how
we
people were
give them
banished.
the most to get familiar with the word that's gonna be face them in the listening file or the thing
Now,
they're gonna
not
listen to.
but not only face them, that helps them understand what the listening was about or is about.
Mhm. Yes,
So
of
again,
course.
if it's you're not just including hard words. Okay, if there's a word that is difficult, but it doesn't help them with the meaning of the story or what they're listening to, leave it. All right, you
Mhm.
can leave it. All right, the students can ask you later. Oh, we heard this word compensate. Let's say the
Mm.
word was compensate, but compensate has nothing to do with the story. Oh,
Yes.
what does this word compensate mean? Then you could tell them on it separate. You could say, hold on, let's parking lot. I like to do what they call a parking lot. Parking lot. So I'll say, so the students say, oh, we heard the word compensate. What does that mean, teacher? So I say, okay, great. Thank you. Let's put that word in our parking lot, compensate. And at the end of the lesson, I'm going to tell you what that word means, but I don't want to talk about it right now because it doesn't really help us with what the meaning of the story is or the listening is. That makes sense? So we're going to come back
Yes.
to it later and I'll tell you what it is. I want you guys to stay focused on the words that'll help you understand the story better. This word right here doesn't really help you understand the story, but I will tell you what it means after we deal with this. Okay? So you're going to give them the keywords and context. All right. After you give them the keywords and context that now they know what they mean and how they relate to the story, then you're going to what we call front. You're going to front load questions. Okay. Now remember, we said how many times they're going to listen to the story?
5 times.
All right. Now, it is important that the story or whatever they're listening to is short, because you only have 50 minutes or 40 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour. So you can't play something that is 30 minutes long 5 times. That goes over your time, right?
Yes.
And that violates, and then your lesson is no longer what? What we learned from your first day, the first day. Your lesson is no longer
No longer than.
no. Listen to me.
Mm.
If you try to play
Mhm.
a listening activity, and let's say
Mhm.
it's 25 minutes long, but you got to
Mhm.
play it 5 times, you're not going to be able to play that 5 times, are you? Because it's 25
Yes.
minutes.
So I
So that
give him in
means
5 minutes. Once I multiply in 5 times, it will be equal 25 minutes.
that's too long, right?
Yes.
And no, that means now my lesson is not smart, right?
Oh, yes, yes,
Because smart, it had to be timely, right?
yes.
It had
And
to be
something
timely,
logic timing.
right?
Yes.
Right. So it might have been all of these, but I didn't get the timely. So not smart. So we got to keep our lesson smart. So we want to keep this. We want to keep the listening from 2 minutes to 3 minutes. Okay. So this is where, let's say you had something that was 50 minutes long. You have to go into your computer, and this is where you got to go and cut out 2 to 3 minutes of the best part of that something. Okay. So let's say you find something on YouTube and you said, man, this is excellent. This is very good, right? But
Mhm.
it's 50 minutes long. You can still use it. You have to download it from
You
YouTube
split it in some
and then
many
splice
sections.
it in
Mhm.
sections. Make sense? Splice it
Yes.
in 2 to 3 minute sections. All right. So
Yes.
now you could play, if it's 3 minutes long, you could play it 5 times because that's only 15 minutes. And it gives you enough time to do the other things that you want to do. Right?
Yes.
So now you're not going to play it 5 times in a row. What you're going to do is you're going to give them a question. You're going to front load the question. Right? Something about the prompt, that 2 to 3 minutes. So they're going to give, let's say the question was, what hotel brand is located in the mountains? Okay.
Mhm.
What hotel brand is located in the mountains? Right. So what you're going to do is you're going to play the audio or the video. They're going to listen for that question. You got me? They're going to
Yes.
find the answer. Oh, excuse me. I'm saying the wrong thing. First, what you're going to do is you're going to give them that question. All right. What hotel brand is located in the mountains? You're not going to play the audio. You're going to ask them to predict.
Yes.
Predict. Now they get an opportunity to what? Talk to one another to make a prediction.
Then we
How
swap
can they
what they
predict?
ask them so that some of them take the questions and the other take the answers.
Right. So why can you ask them to predict? Because you already told them what the story was, what the listening is about, and you already gave them keywords and context. So they already have information about the story,
And
even
once they
though you didn't
predict, they
play it.
can run their
They can
minds
predict,
in good way. Yes.
right? This is getting them a chance to use the language because you gave them language to use, right? So now they could talk to each other about, or you could put let's say you have a big class, you could put them in the groups. They make the prediction, huh? They make the prediction, right?
Yes.
Oh, I think it's going to be the Hilton. Oh, I think it's going to be the W Hotel. Oh, I think it's going to be Moving Pick, right? Oh, I think it's going to be
Double trees.
Doubletree, right? Now they talk to each other, and you get somebody in the group to report their answers, right?
Mm.
And you can even ask them. You can either ask them why they picked that answer, to get them talking, because the key is to get them talking, right?
Yes.
After they predict, then you play the audio. So now the audio is doing what? Confirming whether their prediction is correct. Okay? Then they go, oh, it wasn't, it was, all of us were wrong. It was Best Western or Holiday Inn. It was the Holiday Inn. It was all of our prediction was wrong, right? And then you're going to do the same thing for questions 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's how you're going to play the prompt. And each time you're going to play the prompt in its entirety. So you're going to play it all 3 minutes. All right? So they get a question 1, they predict, they talk to each other and predict, they give you the answer, you play, you give them question 2, they predict, they come back, they respond, and then you play the audio 3, 4, and 5. Make sense? Okay.
Yes. Now it's
Okay. That is how you teach listening. Okay. You always, you tell them what they're going to listen to, you give them some keywords and context, and then you front load the questions. You have them predict, right? And then you have them listen with the key of a listening at least 5 times. All right. The listening has to be short. It can't be long, because we got to always make sure that we have what? A SMART objective. Make sense?
yes.
Okay. That's teaching listening. So you notice in that module, there's both speaking and listening. Right? You didn't have to teach speaking, because you're teaching speaking,
Can
you're
integrate
integrating the speaking inside the listening. All right. Let's talk about reading. Reading, you're going to do the same thing. All right? You're going to do the same exact thing for reading. Okay? You're going to tell them what they're going to read. You're going to have keywords and context.
Then predict
Right?
what the context about.
And then you're gonna front load questions, and you're gonna have them predict the answers, and then you're going to have them search for the answers in the reading. Okay, you have them search for the answers in the reading. All right. There's a lot of reading activities you can do. All right. There's another one called read and run, which is a fun activity. But when it comes down to the core lesson, this is how you teach reading right here. You tell them what the reading is about, right?
Now we
You
learn
give them keywords and context. Now you got to remember, all of this must be done in class. So the reading must be short. The reading cannot be long. It must be short, something they can read in maybe 3 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes.
So we can make them for 5 times, repeat it for 5 times.
You want them to read it as much as you can. So front load the questions. Well, the questions don't have to be 5. For listening, it has to be 5. The reading, it doesn't have to be 5
Ah,
times.
yes.
Okay. Because you want them to read for many. You want them to read to get details. You want them to read to get main idea. So the teaching reading serves a different purpose than teaching listening.
Mhm.
All right. Teaching reading, you want to teach for comprehension, right? You want to teach for applying. Remember, moving up Bloom's taxonomy. You want to teach for critical thinking, for synthesizing, for evaluation. Okay. So teaching reading serves a different purpose. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So the questions you're going to ask is going to be you're going to be comprehension questions, right? They're going to be detailed questions. They're going to be critical thinking questions. They're going to be inference questions where they can infer. They're going to be critical thinking questions. They're going to be questions where they have to make decisions. They're going to be reflection questions. It depends on what you want to get out of the lesson, what skill you want them to work on. Okay, and that will based on the type of questions you ask them. All right, comprehension questions, searching for details, questions searching for meaning, questions searching for inference, questions searching for reflection, questions searching for conflict, questions searching for meanings for words. What does this word mean? What does this word mean from the story? Okay, because you want to see if they can read in context, meaning can they get the definition of a word based on the other words and sentences around it. All right, using context clues. All right, so we ask them to read for many different reasons. So when we ask them to do listening is different than teaching reading because we're doing different skills. Okay, so again, that's why you got to go and know the block book. You got to know that syllabus well. What does the syllabus want the students to be able to do by the end of the course? And then you're going to create SMART objectives that we talked about on the first day. All right, teaching writing. All right, I'm giving you the real fast version of this. Okay, teaching writing is all about preparing them to write. Okay, teaching writing is about preparing the learners to write, and it should be connected, and it should always happen at the end of what, or near the end of a unit, or half of a unit. So it should be connected to, you had them listen to something, you had them talk about something, you
They
had them
read
read something.
at the
Now you
least,
can get them to write
writing.
about it. Right?
Okay.
Never ask students to write about something that they
Before
don't
they
know
read
about.
or listen to it.
Before they listen, read, and you guys had discussion first. So now they have something to write about, and they have the vocabulary.
Mhm.
All right, they have the vocabulary now. They know about the topic. They may have formed opinions because you're going to ask them, what do you think about this? How do you feel about this? When did this happen? How did this happen? Right? Where did this happen? Remember the 5 W's, right? The 5 W
Yes.
questions. What are they? Who, what, when,
When,
where,
where,
and why.
yes.
And then you also have how, right? Who,
Mhm.
what, when, where, why,
Why,
and
when,
who, what, when, where, why, and how.
who.
Okay.
Mhm.
Who, what,
Sorry, I meant how.
when,
When, where,
where,
what, how,
why,
why.
and then how.
Mm.
So these 5, and then 5. So normally what I do is who, what, when, and how, these are normally comprehension style questions.
Mhm.
They're normally comprehension. Why is normally a higher ordered question. Why did it happen? Normally, that's more of a critical thinking question. So why is always, so always ask the who, what, when. I forgot where. Always ask the who, what, when, where, when, and how questions first, and then ask them why, because that's why is typically, the answer is typically subjective, and ask them to support the why. Okay. Now, by asking these questions, you are preparing them to write. Now, when they write, again, you got to make sure that when they write, that the environment is good for writing. The environment is
Which
good
provides
for writing.
yes,
If
encourageable
you
and
can't have
thinking.
people talking in class, I
And
would
the
like
adults
for
can
older.
write. Yes, they're not coming in it.
So if people, like, sometimes you can't get the class quiet, especially adults. You can't just continue to tell them to be quiet, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet, right? So sometimes when they're writing, you can say, oh, all right, guys, why don't you guys leave the classroom for 25 minutes, 30 minutes, write on this topic, and then come back to the classroom and share what you have written. Or better yet, use technology. Have them, I like to use Google Classroom. All right, guys, go somewhere on campus, in a quiet place, library, type your answer, and then we can all see your answer in the Google Classroom. Or use something like Socrates, where you put your Socrates account on the board, and then as they write their sentences or their paragraph, everyone can see it on your main board. Okay, that way you know they're writing, and you can see their sample, or you can even hide it, but you know they're writing. The key is to make sure it's an environment that is conducive for them to write. Okay, make sure that you're asking them to write appropriate structures based on their abilities. Remember, you got to make sure SMART, the A stands for what? Achievable, attainable. Don't ask them to write a paragraph when they can't write a sentence, right? So depending on, and this is where the learner profile comes again, ask them to write what they can write, whether it's a phrase, sentence, sentences, a paragraph, an essay. All right. And obviously, if it's an essay, they're not going to write that in class, right? They're going to probably write that at home. Okay. Maybe even the same thing for the paragraph. But normally you could break it into what we call BCRs and ECRs. Brief constructed responses, and extended constructed responses. Okay. BCRs would be sentences, phrases in a sentence. Extended constructed responses would be paragraph and essays. All right. And again, make sure they have the proper time to write. Make sure they have the proper vocabulary. That's where the quicks comes in. Make sure you gave them enough material for them to and enough material for them to give a response. All right. So again, as we said earlier, they listened to something and they spoke. They read something and they spoke, right? And they read something else and they spoke. They listened to something else and they spoke. Then you ask them to give a brief constructed response or an extended constructed response. Okay. Also, know when you are looking at their work, determine what you're looking for. Are you looking for the response? Are you looking for the response quality? Or are you looking for the grammar quality? So when I say response quality, I'm talking about content. When I say grammar, I'm talking about structure quality. Or are you looking for both?
Syntax, yes.
All right. Also, because if you look for grammar, that means you're not really caring about the response quality. If you're looking for response quality, the content, that means you're really not caring about grammar.
Like bound
Also,
things, yes.
if you're looking for both, then you're looking for both. Whatever you do, anytime you give students something to write about, make sure they have a rubric. All right. And the rubric doesn't have to be big, long, but make sure they know what you're looking for in the rubric. So, it should have a certain amount of words. You want them to capitalize. You want them to punctuate. They must respond meaningfully to the questions. They must use maybe some of the quicks. They must refer back to something that actually happened in the story or in the listening. All right. So it's essential, it's critical that you give them a rubric. All right. Now nowadays, to write a rubric is easy. You can go right on ChatGPT and have ChatGPT write a rubric for you, or you can write it yourself. The rubric shouldn't be long. A lot of things. It should be, the student should be able to look at the rubric and know exactly whether their response provides a sufficient, whether their response is a sufficient reply to your request. Okay, so basically they can self-check their work through the rubric. Okay, I have a capital letter. I capitalize every first letter of the sentence. There's a punctuation at the end of the sentence. I have a subject and a verb, or whatever the case may be, based on what you're looking for. And again, the rubric must be aligned with what you're looking for. If you're looking for a response quality, a quality response, right, based on the content, and you're not really worrying about grammar, your rubric is not going to include grammar. If you're not really worried about the response quality, the content response quality, it's going to have a lot more to do with grammar and structure.
Structure as well, yes.
The punctuation, the capitalization,
other things like a chain.
subject verb agreement, things like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know what you're looking for. In conclusion, when you're teaching listening, speaking, reading, and writing, it's important that you know exactly what you are looking for, what you want the learners to know and get out of the 4 core competencies. And if it's all about whether they can listen, or whether they're improving their listening, whether they're improving their speaking, whether they're improving their reading or writing, make that the focus. Don't be so concerned about the content. The focus is if that's the issue. If you're running an ESL course, then the key is about the speaking. The key is about the listening. The key is about the reading and the writing. All right. If you're running a tourism course, the key is about whatever the the outcomes, the expected outcomes are for that course. So make sure that you know exactly what you want to accomplish when you're teaching the 4 competencies: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. All right. So know them well. If you know them well, then you're going to be able to create good, smart objectives. If you know them well, you're going to be able to create smart objectives. Okay. If you don't know them well, you're going to be just as confused as the students.
Yes.
So know
they
exactly.
will be just they can waste much of time and
Right.
will not invest this class in very well if they know well how to.
So make sure you know exactly what you want to get out of the listening. Do you want them to get meaning out of the listening? Do you want them to get improved? Do you want them to get the grammar out of the listening? Know what you want them to get out of the listening. Know what you want to get them to get out of the reading. Know what you want them to get out of the writing. Know what you want them to get out of the speaking, right? And then have a rubric so they know what you are, what your expectations are, especially for writing. Especially for writing. All right. Anytime if you give them any homework, there should be a rubric attached to it. If it's not a worksheet, it should be a rubric. So let's say you say, okay, I want you guys to write to produce a 20-second video explaining this something about tourism, right? Give them a
Before this
rubric.
should be training with the listening and
Right.
things like this.
Give them a rubric that says, okay, a good 20-second video would include an introduction. You're going to say your name. You're going to speak in complete sentences. You're going to include the main idea. You're going to include 1 or 2 details, and then you're going to give a conclusion, right? Give them always give your students what the keys of success are. What are the keys to success? How will they get that full mark? So because what you want is them to be able to what? Self-correct. That's the key. You want them, because ultimately, why are you there? To help them solve problems, right? We said that in the beginning. And the main way you can help them solve problems is, number 1, when they're able to identify that they have a problem. And number 2, they can self-correct that problem without your help. Okay? You want them to be self-sufficient. You want them to be self-determined. Okay? All right. You're there to support them. You're not there to be their crutch. You're there so they can get rid of their crutches.
At least we want to make them learner, not students.
Right. Okay. So that is the quick version of, again, I can teach each one of those and take 2 hours for each one of those domains, but I'm not going to spend that much time.
This will not going to be a smart teaching or smart activity.
So the key is, even when you're teaching your tourism class, try to integrate what? A listening activity
with speaking.
Include your quicks. Try to get them to predict. Try to include a reading activity. Get your quicks. Remember, you always front load the questions before they read, before they listen. You get the prediction through front loading the questions. For listening, 5 questions. Play it 5 times. How long is the listening prompt? How much long is the video?
2-3 minutes.
2-3 minutes tops. 2-3 minutes tops. All right, because you don't have a lot of time.
5 times, and once we are speaking, we swap the questions with the answers with group A and B, and we do the same things.
So the key is the quicks. Give them the keywords and context. You park a lot any other words they don't understand. You deal with it later because you want to keep the lesson moving. You want them to you want to front load the questions, have them predict, have them speak, get everyone speaking. Even the person that doesn't want to speak, get everyone speaking.
You had to
Right.
try to speak with others. Yes.
Try to get them speak. Then play the audio. Why is it this way? Because now once you finally play the audio, it's going to make sense versus just playing the audio. Now they have enough information to now understand what's going on better in the audio versus just playing the audio and they're like, what is this going on? I don't understand this. Now you've talked, they've heard, they predicted, they've done all the stuff quicks. Now they can play the audio. All right. With the reading, quicks, okay. Again, the quicks is not just difficult words. They're not difficult words. They're words to help them with understanding the meaning of the prompt or the meaning of the article they're reading. Okay. The last thing I want to say before I let you go is when they're reading and when they're listening, you want to make sure first that they understand the gist and the main idea. The gist, G-I-S-T, and the main idea. Now, some people think they're the same things, but they are different. The gist and the main idea are different. The gist is what the thing is about, what the audio was about, what the reading was about. That's the gist, right? What the movie was about. Okay. The main idea is what the author wanted us to take away from the story. Make sense? The main idea is what the author wants us to learn from the story. What's the lesson the author wants us to learn from the story? That's the main idea. Okay, two different things. So if you let's take the book Animal Farm. If you ever read that book, The Animal Farm, okay?
Not
No,
really. I heard about it, but I haven't get the chance to read it.
You should read it. It's a really or watch. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube about it. So the gist of The Animal Farm is about a bunch of animals who had a farmer who wasn't taking care of them well, and one day they kicked the farmer out and they started to run the farm themselves. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The animals ran the farm themselves. Okay. That's the gist.
I think I have seen this. Is that cartoon things? Is that cartoon thing?
One more time.
It's just a story in the book, or it is a cartoon movie, or
people have made a cartoon out of it. People
it's
have made
related to
cartoons.
Nickelodeon
So
productions.
it's a book. It's a book. Every cartoon. A lot of people they do their version of the Animal Farm. It's an actual book, but they made a movie of it. There are cartoons about it. It's all of because it's famous. It's very famous. Okay, but the gist of Animal Farm is that these animals kick out the farmer and they start to run the farm themselves, and as a result of that, things happen. Right? They realize that animals can be just as bad as the farmer, right? The human, right? The main idea is the last part I just said, that they realize that that just because you kick somebody out or something out, doesn't mean the problem is completely solved, and that the solution can also turn out to be just as bad as the problem. That's the main idea, right? So two different things. The gist is what something is about. The main idea is what you take away from the story, what the author wants you to take away from the story. All right. In this case, the main idea for the Animal Farm is that power is addictive. People want power, and that people will use people to get power, and that class and hierarchy are natural progressions of people when you have people living together. There's going to be somebody who's powerful, and there's somebody who's not going to be powerful. That's going to happen in every situation in every society, right? That's the gist, among other things. The main idea is just that, again, these animals kick the farmer out, the human out, to run out the farm on their own. Okay. So make sure that when you're teaching, even in your tourism class, that the students understand the difference in whatever you're teaching them in the gist of the article or the audio versus the main idea. That in itself can be a conversation that you have with them for a long period of time. And it can be a good conversation. All right. Always distinct the gist versus the main idea. GIST versus main idea. Okay. Is there anything that are there anything, or is there anything that you are confused about, that was confusing, that I didn't explain well, that you want me
Actually,
to cover
everything
again?
was explaining in one way, but I might take this lecture if it's been recorded, so I can review it these 2 days. I hope.
Yeah. So I will do the same thing I did with the other one. I'll put the link in of this module. I'll put the link in, and so you can watch it as many times as you want. Okay.
You're good. This is good.
All right.
Okay.
We're gonna have one more session, and then we're gonna be finished. In that session, I'm gonna talk about noticing errors, how to correct mistakes. I'm gonna talk about appropriate materials, what's an appropriate material to give learners, and then I'm gonna give you a brief. I'm gonna talk a little bit about assessments. I'm gonna talk to you about the different types of assessments during your class, and then that'll be our last session. Okay. It's going to be 2 hours long. Again, I'm going to talk to you about noticing errors. I'm going to talk to you about appropriate material, and then I'm going to talk to you about assessments. Okay. What's the next time that we can meet? Tomorrow and Wednesday are not good days for me because I have to be at the university.
If it's not good for you for tomorrow on Wednesday, it's okay. It's Thursday good for you?
Thursday is good for me. Thursday is good.
Okay. By the way,
What
it's no
ti-
difference if I take it tomorrow or after tomorrow or even Thursday. Both doing the same thing.
Thursday, what time is good for you on Thursday?
What do you think if we talk it from 1 p.m.?
Yeah, so from 1 to 3.
1 to 3. If you prefer any time, then 1 to 3,
No,
just give me your.
No, 1 to 3 is good. So we'll do 1 to 3 on Thursday. All right.
Okay.
Same thing like today. I will upload give you the link an hour before, and I'll see you Thursday. You sure you don't have any questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Raynor.
All right. Again, everything I'm covering is in the book, so you can read the book, and it's even more stuff in the book. I'm trying to give it to you in a way that you can actually use it and understand it. Okay. All right. So we'll see you Thursday at 1 o'clock.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Mr. Raynor.
Pleasure.